Hello, and welcome to the MMA Mic Drop Podcast. This is episode number 10. My name is Jade Bunky, and I am joined by the one and only Milo McGregor. You know him on Instagram as Milo McShredder. In today's episode, we are going to provide picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Ankalaev. Milo, this is an absolutely stacked Fight Night card. Because if you think about how the UFC operates, it operates in three tiers. You have your pay-per-views. Then you have your fight nights in front of a large crowd, and then you have your fight nights in front of a small crowd at the Apex. For a fight night card at the Apex, this is absolutely stacked. You have two fights that have title implications. You have some solid veterans. You have some interesting up-and-coming prospects. I am pre-grading this an A+ in terms of quality and also for my level of excitement. Milo, how would you how would you pre-grade this fight card in terms of quality and your level of excitement?
For a fight night, I think this is going to be the best fight night out of the last 2 years. It's going to be the best fight out of 2024, I think. So A++.
Awesome. I know you're fired up because I know one of your favorite fighters is fighting on this
Johnny
fight.
Walker, yeah.
Johnny Walker, yeah. Milo loves Johnny Walker. So let's get right into it. So the main event, Johnny Walker versus Ankalaev. Now, Ankalaev, well-rounded, very skilled, has some really good high kicks. Johnny Walker used to be a wild man, but he seems to have found his stride. And it's interesting because, there was that fight against Santos a while back where it was the first time you saw him take more of a measured approach, but it was too measured. He didn't throw enough volume. And it seems like he's found his stride recently. Now, with that said, they just fought in Abu Dhabi. And that fight, it was a doctor stoppage. I believe it was a headbutt. And it was a pretty absurd stoppage. The doctor asked Johnny Walker, "Do you know where you're at?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm in the desert." Well, he's in Abu Dhabi. That is the desert. But the doctor said, "No, we're not in the desert. We're in Abu Dhabi." And he stopped the fight. That's like me going to Barbados and somebody saying, "Well, where are you?" "Oh, I'm in the tropics." That's technically accurate, just as being in the desert is technically accurate for being in Abu Dhabi. Now, with that said, Ankalaev was getting the best of him in the early going. But on the flip side, Johnny Walker has the skill set that he can stop anybody at any given time. So the question is, what's going to happen? And I'm a little torn on this, but I'm going to take Ankalaev to squeeze out a decision. What do you say?
If I'm trying to beat you rankings wise, I'm gonna go with Ankalaev, but I hope Johnny Walker wins. There's that, yeah.
You know what's interesting? They're both getting close to a title shot, right? And with Jamal Hill out, with Yuri Prochazka just having been defeated, the winner of this could realistically get the next title shot against Alex Pereira. And if Johnny Walker, because Johnny Walker is number 7, I believe Ankalaev is like number 3. If Johnny Walker comes out and starches Ankalaev, you know what? You're going to have a lot of hype, for a big fight and maybe a UFC 300 fight, given it's not going to be Adesanya versus Pereira. So there are really big title implications on this fight. And it is an interesting matchup because Johnny Walker could literally, I think, finish any light heavyweight in the world on the right night. And I hope that happens, but I'm going to, stick with Ankalaev. Let's see what happens. So you're rooting for Johnny Walker. What is your prediction? I'm going Ankalaev decision. What is your prediction?
I think I'm going Johnny Walker, but flying knee that actually lands.
Flying knee. All right. In what round?
The third round.
Third round. Okay. All right. So we will see. This is going to be a fun fight. All right. Next up, we have Manuel Kape versus Matheus Nicolau. Now, they already fought, and Nicolau won by a split decision. But that was, I believe it was Kape's first fight in the UFC. Now, Kape, he probably has the fastest hands in the entire UFC. This dude is an electrifying striker. His only losses in the UFC have come to Nicolau and Pantoja, and now we know how good Pantoja actually is. But this is a tough fight. I still am going to go with Kape. I'm going to go with Kape this time. I think he catches him. I think he catches him in the second round. Give me Kape by second round TKO. What do you say, Milo?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think in the second round, he's going to get it done.
Yeah, Kape looks good. Now, I want to get your opinion on this. His nickname is Starboy. What do you think of that?
Bro, that is so zesty. Him and Wonderboy would be like the best duo.
I know that's the ridiculous. It's such an absurdly lame nickname, but we think he is going to get it done. And what's interesting, if he does get it done, you might be able to set up a rematch with Pantoja at UFC 300. So there are pretty big there are big implications in this fight, particularly if he does it in a spectacular manner. So that's there's a lot to look forward on this particular fight card. Next up, Ricky Simón versus Mario Bautista. This is a ridiculous fight. I think this might be the best fight on the fight card. We saw Simón beat Jack Shore in his undefeated run, but we saw him also get handled by Song Yadong. Now, Bautista's looked really good. Hasn't fought the best competition, but has looked really good, and he's been finishing people of late. I am going to go with Bautista by decision. What do you say?
I think I'm going to go Bautista by first round knockout.
There you go.
He's going to do a kick to the head.
Kick to the head, so it's a head kick knockout. So you are calling not only what round and how, but specifically by what type of strike. All right, we're going to hold you accountable in the recap show. Next up, we have Phil Hawes versus Brunno Ferreira. So it's interesting. Hawes came out as a very hot prospect, and he hasn't really lived up to his potential. I mean, he's a massive dude, for the weight class, and he's a great athlete. And I'm just going to look at his losses because his losses are, he only has really good losses, and I'm looking at it right now. It's Deletes, Ikram, and Chris Curtis, solid losses, but he hasn't really put his mark on anything yet, and it's been a little disappointing. Brunno Ferreira came to the USC with an undefeated record, was going against Gregory Rodriguez. I thought he was going to get smashed against Gregory Rodriguez, but he starched him. But then in his last fight, he got knocked out in the first round. So I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just going to take a wild guess. Give me Ferreira by first round knockout. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to go Brunno by second round knockout.
Brunno by second round knockout. Okay, all right. Next up, we have the ageless Andrei Arlovski versus Cortes-Acosta. At this particular stage in his career, I think Arlovski is just too old. He's 44. I don't think he will win again in the UFC. Father Time is undefeated. I know that's such a trite statement, but it is true. Acosta doesn't seem to be that much of a high-level UFC fighter in the heavyweight division, but I think he's going to get it done. I think it's going to be TKO by the second round. I just think Arlovski is too slow. What are your thoughts?
I think Arlovski by decision.
Really? Wow. So you think he's still going to you think he's going to get it done, and you think he still has a little left in the tank?
A little bit.
Just
Last fight.
Last fight. This might be his last win. Well, it's interesting. So I want to get your opinion on another nickname. This is Cortes-Acosta. And typically when you're a UFC fighter and you're a grown man, you usually don't want to put boy in your nickname. But his nickname is Salsa Boy. That's kind of funny. What are your thoughts?
That is amazing. What's up with people putting boy in your name? That's so weird.
It's so
weird. Get away with that.
Yeah, it's so weird, but I think Salsa Boy is kind of funny. I think he might be the only person in the UFC to get away with that. So next up, Matheus Semelsberger versus Preston Parsons. This is another good fight. Semelsberger's good, but he's been kind of back and forth in the UFC. He's a great athlete. He has good power. Parsons looks like a decent prospect, but not a great prospect. Give me Semelsberger by decision.
I'm just gonna go with the opposite of you. I'm
Okay.
gonna go Parsons.
How's he gonna
by decision?
By decision. All right, we're gonna see in the recap show who did better. All right, next up, Marcus McGhee versus Gaston Bolanos. And I've watched only one fight of him. I really don't know that much about him. I have watched a couple fights of Marcus McGhee. I like him. He has a 100% finish rate. I believe he's 8-1, and I think his streak's going to continue. Give me McGhee by third round TKO.
I'm gonna go with the opposite of you again. I'm gonna go Gaston by decision again.
All right, there you have it. All right, next up, and this is a testament to how good this fight card is for a fight night. We have a really highly touted prospect, Farid Basharat. He's 11-0, and he's fighting a pretty solid guy, Taylor Lapilus. And Lapilus made his return to the UFC recently. He got a win, and when he left the UFC, he was 3-1. So, he is a really good fighter. This is a tough test, but I think Basharat will get it done. Give me Basharat by decision. Expect him to go to 12-0 and to continue the hype behind his name. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to have to go with you there.
How's he going to get it done?
Knockout. First round.
First round. Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, this should be a good fight. Both these guys are pretty high level, so this will be fun. Next up, we have Westin Wilson versus Gene Silva. Westin, I don't think he's UFC material. He got knocked out in his first fight recently at the UFC. He finally made it. He has a lot of subs on his record, so he does get a lot of subs. I just don't think this is going to the ground. I think he's going to get knocked out in the first round. Give me Silva by first round knockout. What do you think?
I'm going to go Silva by second round knockout. Head kick.
So we're going to have two head kicks in the same by knockout. Are you sure? It's pretty risky.
Yep. No, I'm 100% sure.
You're 100% sure. All right. I like the confidence. We will see. We'll see what happens. All right. The opener is Joshua Van versus Felipe Bruns. Van has looked really good. He has 2 fights in the UFC. He beat Zumagulov in his first fight. He won his second fight. He's looked really good. He's really young. I believe he's only 22 years old. Give me Van by decision. What do you think?
Yeah, Van by decision.
Van by decision. All right. So there you have it. Those are our picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Ankalaev. Now we're going to move into our other section. This is called Kicking It with Milo. As many of you know, Milo is one of the top up and coming amateur surfers in the United States. So we're going to ask him a couple surf related questions. Number 1, Milo, when is your next contest?
I think I have one this weekend in Oceanside. You
have a contest.
See, I do.
I was going to say, because this would be in alignment with your mom's contention that you are not prepared for life. Not sure if
I am.
Okay, you are. Okay, so what? Tell me about the contest.
It's gonna be 1 to 2 foot and horrible. So that's pretty great.
Oh, that's a bummer. What venue, or what is the organization that's putting it on?
WSA.
WSA.
It's like Western Surfing Association.
All right. So that's cool. What is your favorite place to travel for surfing? We know your favorite wave is Pipeline.
Oh, that's a good one.
But I know you've been all over the place traveling.
Yeah. I think North Shore Hawaii. I like it a lot there.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the
Has it all.
So yeah, and last time you were in the O'Neill house, right? To watch, was it the Pipe Masters?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yep.
awesome.
That was insane.
Yeah, that was insane. And then you've been to Portugal a couple times as well.
Yep, I have. It's cold there.
It's too cold, so you like the tropics. Yeah. So
yeah.
So next time you're in Hawaii, we have to do a podcast from Hawaii, and you can just say, I can say, well, where are you? And you can just say, I'm in the tropics, and then we'll stop the show right away. You don't know where you're at. Official stoppage. With that said, we're going to go move into our final segment. This is called Kook of the Week. Milo, do you have a Kook of the Week?
Oh, I think I'm not going to do it for this week, but if Ankalaev beats Johnny Walker, he's the Kook of the Week.
Because you want to see Johnny Walker fight for the title, huh?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, Johnny Walker is exciting, very exciting. I mean, it's something for which I'm rooting, to happen. I think that's just a much better storyline. It would be a lot of fun to watch him continue to move up the ranks. Tough test against Ankalaev, so we'll see. And then my Kook of the Week is Ian Gary. I don't know if you saw it, but he was on an interview, or he was doing an interview, and it looked like for one part of the interview, he was reading notes on what to say in terms of trash talk. So he was on the Ariel Helwani show, and he kept on looking down, and he goes, yeah, Sean Strickland, he's not going to remember his childhood trauma because after I beat him. And he kept on looking down, and if you look at the rest of the interview, he did not really look down. So it looked like he was trying to read something that was prepared for him. So it's like he's like a double kook. One, you don't talk about childhood trauma, and number two, you're just a kook for your lack of authenticity. And that, I mean, everything about him. And I think that's why he's so disliked, again, in the show, when we don't get into his personal life, but I think it's just the lack of it's just the lack of authenticity that I think turns a lot of people away, as well as the hypocrisy as well. Because in that show, he was also talking about how, people are going after him and it's unfair, but then he's going after people just as hard. So it's like, dude, pick a lane.
Yeah. Well deserved.
Yeah. Kook of the Week. So that's it. Short show for today. Thank you all for watching. Please continue to subscribe, click the bell to get notifications. We are the fastest growing MMA podcast in the world. And Milo, do you have a last word?
Drop the mic.
All right, we're out.